forecast for the week of February 19th, 2023. We're in Pisces season. The sun went into Pisces on Saturday, February 18th, and we're heading to the new moon in Pisces on Monday, February 20th. So it's a real weekend or week of beginnings. And as we go through the week, the moon will be waxing as out of Pisces and going through Aries and into Taurus. So we're looking at a pretty exciting week in that regard. Let's think about Pisces season. I hate to be I'm fine with being northocentric. But in the northern hemisphere, Pisces is the last sign of winter. And we're starting to head towards springtime, which happens at the equinox on March 21st. Now, you might say to yourself, if you're, say, here in North America, especially on the East Coast, that we're not really having a very typical winter, and what is going to be going on as we go forward? Well, it's true. It's true. Certainly here in Long Island, the weather is balmy. It's been a balmy February. But one thing that you can see is the light. One thing that tells you what time of year you're in is the light. And during Pisces season, although we're technically in the dark part of the year, see, the sun is below the horizon most of the day from the Libra equinox to the spring equinox in Aries, right? It's below the horizon most of the day. So we're still technically in the dark time of the year. However, the light is growing, and it's growing fast. It grows very fast right around the equinoxes. It grows very fast in Pisces time. So it's a sort of a paradox that we're still in the darker half of the year, but the light is really growing. It's the polar opposite of polar opposite is a term I really shouldn't ever use. You always hear me biting my tongue over that, but it's the opposite of Virgo. In Virgo, the sun is above the horizon most of the time, but it's waning into the autumn equinox. In other words, it's getting smaller every day. The sunrises in Virgo are getting later and the sunsets are getting earlier. Now we have the opposite. We have the sunrises getting earlier and the sunsets getting later. The light is growing. People always talk about Pisces as being the sign that is sort of like, spiritual and out there type of thing. There's a little bit of truth to that. But, you think about where we are now in the course of the years. It's really the dark time is letting go into the light. Pisces is a very fertile sign. It's a great time to let serendipity rule. It really is. It's a great time to go with the flow. That doesn't mean sitting on your arse because, you're going with the flow, right? We're talking about action words here. You're going with the flow. So move, right? Allow serendipity to guide you. Have some flexibility during Pisces season, but also recognize that this is a time when the energy is building. We haven't crossed the halfway mark yet. The sun is still below the horizon, but we're heading there, and we're heading there fast. There's momentum in Pisces. There's a lot of momentum in Pisces. Continues on through Aries, but there's a lot of momentum in the sign of the fish. At the new moon itself, it is, in fact, a great time for setting intentions regarding spiritual practices and things like that. It's a very good time this year because on March 7th, Saturn is coming into the sign of Pisces, and he's going to want to know what you're doing. He's going to hold you to account for your spiritual practice and stuff. So you want to get a head start on that maybe at this new moon. You want to have something in place when Saturn arrives. We'll have a separate video for Saturn's arrival. That'll be coming out right around March 7th. That'll be one of the midweek videos. So working with this new moon, as always, you want to, right at the new moon, by all means, and the new moon is at, let me just tell you over here, it's Eastern Standard Time, right? It's at 2:05 a.m. Well, sleep through it. But if you happen to be awake or something like that at 2:05 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, that would be about 11 o'clock at night on the West Coast. So if you're there, you could light a candle, do some meditation or something like that. In general, though, follow the rule of waiting until 12 to 24 hours after the new moon in order to really set intentions and things like that. But you know what you want to do if you haven't seen the video on working with the lunar cycles. go watch that. And you'll get a full explanation for how to work with this and every other new moon. It's in there. All right, so that's the Pisces new moon aspect of this week. On the same day, also on February 20th, Venus moves into Aries. Just as the sun comes into Pisces, Venus leaves for Aries. Now, Venus in Aries, we're already getting some of that fiery energy. We need some fiery energy in the sky. We haven't really had much fiery energy. And Venus in Aries is about getting out, initiating things. When it comes to social stuff, competition is probably a reasonable, it is a key word for Venus in Aries. So, playing games and sports and things like that. It's a sort of, maybe meet somebody at the gym type of energy. In terms of romance, it is about, again, initiation. It is what I would say I'm going to get a little old school here. It's sort of like Sadie Hawkins Day. That was the thing where, it was like the one day every year or every 4 years, whatever it was, that, the girls could ask out the guys type of thing. I don't want to play into stereotypes like that or anything, but it has that kind of feel to it, and I think it always came around this time of year too. How does that work? What does that mean in our society? It means, if you see someone that you think maybe, go for it. Go for it. What's going to happen? Go for it, right? Over the next few weeks, Venus in Aries is saying, take a dare. Give it a try. See what happens. Give it a shot. See what happens. That's an important piece of this week, and it's an important piece of the next several weeks. Before Venus leaves Pisces, though, she does have one little bit of work to do, and this is right in the middle of the day, pretty much wherever you are. It's on Sunday the 19th, and that is her sextile to Pluto. For most of us, this will kind of go by unnoticed. However, you'll see that maybe something that came up earlier on in the year, I'm thinking probably right around New Year's, might be sort of in its next installment. So if anything was initiated around then, it would be the next installment. If anything ended right around then, now you're really moving forward from it. So that's kind of, keep that in mind. It'll probably pass by us. It's time to focus on Venus in Aries, but just so you know. Then on Tuesday, Mercury is square to Uranus. I'm going to bet that some of us are going to have trouble sleeping on Monday night, and maybe Tuesday night as well. When Uranus gets activated in the sky, we tend to have the sort of jangly sort of feel to things that makes it kind of hard to rest, and we often lose a little bit of sleep. It is the new moon, and that helps, but it's not the calmest kind of feel right away when we get to Monday, Tuesday type of thing. But this is a brilliant kind of energy. Okay, first of all, Mercury is in Uranus's sign of Aquarius, which is also the sign, get a little technical here, it's also the sign of Mercury's exaltation. So this connection between Mercury and Uranus, it may be a tense square, but considering the signs involved, it really just indicates a potential for brilliant ideas, for innovative types of changes, for putting something new out there, for figuring something out, for having that aha experience. And yeah, there may be some tension. Monday and Tuesday, there may be some tensions that you're working through. You're trying to, how does this fit together? And this is the opportunity for things to kind of make sense. Write it down. It may take a little bit of time to figure out how to make it work, but the idea itself is probably pretty good. You know what? It may not take that long to figure out how to make it work, because the next thing that Mercury does right away is to go on and trine Mars. And Mars is in Mercury's home sign of Gemini. Certainly, if there's anything to communicate, if there's anything to share, that's going to really help a lot. But it really has a sort of get moving kind of thing. I could just kind of see this. The moon is waxing. We have this Mercury Uranus square followed by the Mercury Mars trine. The signs are also harmonious with each other. I just have this sense of like, there's this real kind of like you want to just go get a fresh start on things. You just want to move forward. And that's a great thing to do with this week's cosmic weather. And then on Thursday, the midweek energy continues as Jupiter squares Pallas Athene. Now, Pallas Athene recently stationed in the sign of Cancer, and Jupiter is in Aries. And this is a feisty aspect. This is a feisty aspect. I'm saying this is where people are going to say, this is what's what. Here's my truth. I'm putting it out there. And, it's their truth and they're putting it out there. But, it's no judgment on whether they're saying something that's good or, even true in an objective sense. But this is a time when people are going to be speaking their minds. Mercury Uranus, the brilliant idea. Mercury Mars on Wednesday, the brilliant action. And then Jupiter Pallas Athene, the kind of, make sure that you hear what I'm saying. Make sure that you pay attention to what's going on. Very, very charged kind of energy at midweek. Very productive, but when by productive, I mean stuff happens. It's the kind of thing that you can make things happen, which is what we're trying to do. That's what we do with these forecasts, right? You see what the weather is. It's a time to make things happen. Sunday, earlier on Monday, not so much a time to make things happen. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, very much time to make things happen. And then on the weekend, we have the lovely Taurus moon coming up. We have a nice aspect between Mercury and Juno. It is a sextile aspect, and that should be very good for communication within relationships, right? So this is communication within relationships, opening up, communicating with your partner, sharing new ideas. So maybe some of those brilliant insights you had earlier during the week get put out there on the weekend. In general, though, it's a nice sociable energy all the way through. I mean, this is really a very nice kind of, I would say it should be a really great weekend. I would think both Friday and Saturday nights would have a lovely kind of vibe for getting out and doing stuff. So there's a lot of potential in this. We're not really running up against any harsh aspects in the short term. And although, the one caveat is the way it hits individuals, the way it hits countries, the way it hits, past events even. Well, there we have something. But the overall flow of the weather is much easier this week. But it's a nice, upbeat, outgoing, here we come kind of energy. So, watch my other video on the lunar cycle, and just search this one. If you'd missed the one on the goddess asteroids, go watch that. Get ready for on Wednesday the next video to come out. And but other than that, stop watching YouTube.